What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. Now that we got everything back from powder coat, we can get right into final assembly. We're gonna start with the engine. We're gonna go to the back of the bike. We're gonna move our way forward, bounce all over the place, lock tight, oil lines, wiring. We're gonna get into it today. I don't know if that's the right way to put a bike together, but that's the way I do it. So let's go. All right, so we are back on assembly. We're gonna get the engine in today. We have to take the paint off the mounting plate for the back of the engine mounts so it has a good ground. We're going to grind this down. We have to drill the powder coat out of these holes, and then also we're going to grind down the back of the engine. So when the engine sits to the frame, it's going to be a good ground, and the whole frame will be grounded to the engine. Otherwise, if you leave the powder coat on here, it's going to leave a material, the powder coat, in between the engine and the frame. And the frame is not going to be grounded to the engine properly. You have the lights flickering, charging system's not going to charge right. So we're going to grind this down, drill this out, and do the back of the motor. Let's do it. All right, so after about 2.5, 3 hours of fighting with this thing, we got the engine in. We did lay it on its side and slide the frame over it so we didn't do any damage to the frame. We didn't scratch it. That went in pretty smooth, but a pain in the neck. It's just a ton of work because you don't want to scratch anything. I think the next thing is I completely forgot. I had to drill and tap to mount the voltage regulator. So I'm going to drill and tap 2 holes to mount a 1/4 inch bolt into the frame to hold the voltage regulator on. Then we can mount the fender and the rear tire, the rear brake, rear axle, all that good stuff. And before I do the front end, I have to run the wires in for the headlight. So let's jump on it. So the voltage regulator is now mounted to the frame. Had the drill and tap. We got some 1/4 inch bolts in there, and that is not going anywhere. It is on there for good. It's the next day in the garage. We did get the engine in, but we didn't get the top motor mount on, so we're going to do that today. From this point on, every bolt we put on this thing, we're going to be Loctiting. So it'll be the last time that we put the bolts on. Also, I sanded down the centers of all the tins, and I taped off and I put a 2-inch racing stripe of Raptor liner to give the bike a little bit different of a look. So everything's so shiny. I wanted to give it a little something, give it a little character. So I just taped it up, sprayed it off with some truck bed liner, and I'll show you what they look like up close. I think they come out pretty cool. And it's not a big bump like you would think because the stuff is so thick. It's really not bad at all. That's the front fender. This is the rear fender. Super happy with it. I also did the gas tank. And the reason why I did the Raptor liner is because on the top of the tank, there is a weld. And it said when they sent the tank not to sand down the weld because the tank can leak. So I wasn't doing body filler and all that and paint. I wanted to powder coat everything, so everything was exactly the same color. And the only way to get around not sanding that weld down was to hit it with some Raptor liner, and that's what we did. I'll go grab the tank and show you what that looks like. This is the tank, same deal. Raptor liner down the center, 2 inches wide, and it really hides that disgusting weld that was on top of this ridge, right down the center where they welded the tank completely together. It was all really nasty. And that completely disguises it. I mean, there's little bumps here and there, but it almost looks like it's supposed to be that way because of the rough texture. And I think this is the gas cap I'm gonna run with. I'm not sure yet. I might send it back in a different one, but all right, let's keep going. So we got everything laid out. The first thing we're gonna do is grind down this motor mount hole here because I'm going to use this for a grounding point for the headlight. Going to run the wires up through here, out through the neck for the headlight. We're going to come back through with wires for the brake switch up in the handlebars. We're going to come back down and bring that down. So we're going to use this for the ground for right now for the headlights. So we got to get that ground down. Turn tube in, get rid of that yellow fitting. I wanted to use washers on this, but nothing fit. It was, you put the washer on and it made it too thick. You'll see how close it is. It'll barely go on if you have a washer. I stuck a washer in here before and it was hitting the socket head, so it wouldn't work out too well. Let's put the ignition on, just see what it looks like. Looking good. All right, let's get this rear fender mounted without scratching it all up. The thing you don't want is your fender bolts loosening up on you while you're riding and chewing a nice big hole in your tire. I do think we're going to have a problem right here with the powder coat. I think I'm going to come in here and grind all this out because that's supposed to fit in there and it doesn't. That's for the axle slide. So we're going to have to grind that down. All right, we got to put the rear brake back together too. Let's get all the hardware together for that. And then we'll throw the back brake together. So I had the rear sprocket powder coated glossy black, or they called it ink black. Terrific powder coat. You know what that means? More grinding. There's a company in Milford, Connecticut. It's called the Nutty Company. They literally have every nut and bolt ever. And they're super inexpensive. These 5 bolts, stainless steel socket head for $6. It's really good. I think it'll look better with the socket heads on here. It'd be nice if I could do that on the front one. I don't know if that would work with the rotor. I sure like it. Something is definitely not right. Probably just take the damn pads out. We are in. We are finally in. So the way this axle works, it's got this, the axle goes through and has these little sliders for the axle. And then you put a bolt right through that. Put a little Loctite on it. There's Allen adjusters that go in here that push on these 2 sliders. I just got to get my hands on those. Those are in a baggie somewhere. I'll put them on both sides and we'll start adjusting the back wheel before we tighten it up. So I found the set screws for it. And once again, we have a little bit of powder coat in there. Hopefully it works through it. I don't have any never see, so I just put a little grease on it. You don't want to Loctite these because you'll never be able to get them out again. That Allen strips or something. So the rear of the bike is complete. Fender's on. Back wheel is on. Freshly powder coated rear sprocket. Stainless steel hardware, axle covers are on, and the axle is adjusted. Chain is on, and we got about 3/4 to an inch of play on that, which is good. Everything's Loctited on. Rear brake. When I sent this out for powder coat before, I drilled in some nice holes. Go with the theme of the bike, I guess. Had the rear adjustment sandblasted, and I kind of like it aluminum like that, just all aluminum sandblasted. Looks great. I think it matches the bike well. I'm going to clean up that rear caliper. Love the way this thing's coming out. Completely different than the day I picked it up. It was a big box of rust and it's coming along. I also did get the exhaust in the mail. Came in finally. I'm gonna do some like I don't know, like a big radius pipe. I think it'll fit the bike good. They're black, kind of cool. And I think that's gonna be a good place to stop. So that's gonna be a wrap for this video. In the next episode, we're gonna be moving on to the oil tank and the oil lines, and we're gonna get those foot controls on from TC Bros. So don't forget to show your love for your boy. Subscribe, like, share. We'll get you on the next one. Peace. I'm out of here.